The growing calls across the nation to defund the police.
To end policing as we know it.
Off the charts violence in New York City. 11 people shot in just 8 hours on
This is
Sunday.
about the police officers who every single day put on that uniform and they run towards danger when we run away from it.
Oh, guns up, giddy up. Welcome to Failure to Stop Night Shift.
Hey, y'all.
It's not night shift, is it?
It's morning shift.
It's morning shift because we're going to be live in Cincinnati, Ohio on Tuesday night. We're not going to have a live show, so we're pre-recording on Saturday, and we're just with our private fans for right now, but this will go up on YouTube Tuesday night. And you and I will be in the live chats, won't we?
Yeah, what? Yes, sure we can be.
Yeah, of course we will be. Of course we will be.
Of course we will. Why am I so close and you're so far away? You're so far away.
You're so far
And I'm
away.
so close.
For those of you who are just tuning in, that is crazy. I'll have to fix that here in a second, but we are the Failure to Stop Night Shift. This is the Failure to Stop podcast night shift show. We do 4 shows a week. We have police-related news with Big Daddy Dave and Mike the Cop on Monday. We have all the murder and mayhem on Tuesday night with the beautiful and audacious Andrea Uplate on night shift. And then on Thursday, I personally bring you all the other news that you need to hear so that you don't sound like an asshole first responder to your civilian friends at the weekend barbecue. I give you something else to talk about other than
I don't want to say it.
dead babies and domestic violence. Friday's our flagship show, which is a big giant case breakdown with myself and Mike the Cop, or our pinch hitter Drew Breezy, because we are a growing podcast channel. We are always in and out, and so we now have a full-time backup, a full-time substitute teacher, if you will.
There you go. Yes.
And that's Drew Breezy. So a lot of going on. We're going to be in Cincinnati for a live show with the One More and I'm Outta Here podcast. If you're not listening to their show, you should. Bunch of first responders and a lawyer getting around and having really cool guests. They do it live from a bar every Tuesday night. And we're going to be special guests at the bar along with Lieutenant Colonel Scheller, the Marine, the notorious Marine who spoke out against Biden in the Afghanistan pullout and then was imprisoned for it by the Marine Corps. He's going to be there. I Am Pitts will be joining us in Cincinnati. So it's going to be a really fun show. Drew Breezy will be there and many, many more. And that's on Tuesday night. But tonight, it's all about the Salem Witch Trials.
Actually, it is, but it's not. So I was going to do Salem. It's still about witches. But in America, in Salem, it was not nearly as gnarly as it was in Europe. So we're really going to concentrate on the European witch trials that took place a little bit later in history and were way more fun to talk about.
If there was a Salem Witch Trials,
yeah,
you would be found guilty. Guilty on all accounts at the Salem Witch Trials. Hey, honey, producer, can you zoom that camera in for me real quick?
Please.
Hang on. Let me be like a real chauvinistic pig really fast. Hey, pumpkin tits, can you zoom me in there? Hi, sugar. Thank you. That's great. Actually, somebody did call my bar manager that, and I was super close to saying something, but I wanted to see how it play out. I don't want to say too much in case she's okay with it and she wants that tip money. But a guy, he came by, he was wearing overalls with no shirt.
Oh, that's
and
always
he
a
said,
good one.
it was his first time in. And he goes, Hey, pumpkin tits. Do you got rum and coke back there? And she looked at me and I looked at her and I was like, She was like, I do have rum and Coke. Would you like one? And he was like, sure, honey. And he dropped a 20 on the counter. And he said, keep the change. And then she gave me the, I'll let go of my standards for the 20 for a $10
It could be
tip.
worse.
No, he's actually one of our best. He's actually one of our best customers. He's just super Southern. I think he has like 8 kids, to be honest with you.
Yeah, because he likes pumpkin tits.
I like sugar tits. 10 kids. 10 kids, the wife producer back here says. I am in my studio. My wife started teaching piano lessons on the side, a little side gig, and she's doing it inside my podcast studio. So earlier this morning, she was teaching piano, and now she's leaving.
Ashley.
Are you taking all the kids? Are you taking all the kids? Okay. Well, let's get to the show. This isn't a normal show, and I apologize for those of you who are tuning in who aren't used to this kind of morning banter. This show is brought to you by GhostBed, ghostbed.com/Wolfpack. Get you that sleep so good it's scary. You'll hear a famous ad read. Andrea and I are going to go all in on the ad read today, so you don't want to miss the ad read. Probably do it at the 30-minute mark, but I mean, we're going to go all in. Good morning, by the way. You look great. Beautiful.
Yeah, I told you looked handsome. I like that shirt on you.
Thank you. I have to work at the distillery this afternoon, and this is my distillery cocktail shirt. Puts me in the mood.
I think that's nice.
I felt like after all this mayhem and murder you're about to drop on us, I needed to have a little pick me up. Speaking of which, 27,000 views on the update we did with
and lots of comments. Lots and lots of comments.
I would like to address that really fast before we jump into the show. Again, this is a show mainly for first responders, killing time in their police cars, giving them something else to listen to other than the radio. So if you're a civilian, you know what? It's not for you. I know you're like, get to the fucking story. You're just going to have to hold your horses. Hold your horses because we're killing time for first responders on 12-hour shifts here, entertaining them with all the things. I like how angry people get when you have somebody that has a different perspective. How did we get here in America where you cannot bring somebody on that has a different opinion or different view on something that hasn't been proved yet? And then people get super angry. And we got some, I mean, like over almost 600 comments on that. But like some of them are like, shame on you for bringing this guy on here. That was not the bridge guy. And it's like, but you don't know 100% it's not the bridge guy. You don't know that.
Right. And I think that, you know, like to that point, I agree. And everybody did. And okay, a few things on that. And then I want to we'll get into this case. And then I want to talk about that a little further about Delphi. But in specific regards to Chris Todd, who was on the investigative producer, I still would like to hear, I don't know what that job itself entails, but I think that, you know, a private investigator as such brings a certain tone or a certain, like a shtick. He even said it. He was like, that's my shtick. So I think that that's why it's easy to be like, oh man, what are you saying? But I didn't like the me, my, book. But he also said things that if you take all of that out of it and that the law enforcement officers told me this and told me that, I'm not sure how much I believe all of that. In regards to facts of the case, I'm not so sure that he's very wrong when it actually comes to facts of the case. And I'm saying that because there's other things I've read and listened to more recently since that show that kind of corroborate a lot of the things he said. If you can weed through the personality of a private investigator, right?
Yeah, I mean, I get it, but I mean, like, I feel like he's no different than an ESPN sportcaster. You know, if you listen to those assholes, I mean, they have no idea what's going to happen on any given Sunday. And they're like, I played in the, you know, for the 49ers and I saw this in the locker room and, you know, I did that. I mean, to me, his tone is no different than any sports podcaster that's trying to speculate. And they all try to convince you that they're right. Now, I'm not saying he's right, but I can't say that he's wrong because I have no proof. But I like how invested people get in those chats where they're just like, no, this guy's fucking wrong. You should fucking apologize. What a disgrace. And I don't think he said anything disrespectful.
He wasn't. I mean, he kind of answered some questions we asked him not to answer in regards to certain things, but he wasn't actually disrespectful. And especially after the PI who shall not be named, this guy was respectful to us or kind to us, you know, and in that regard, didn't try to talk over us. So that was good. You know,
I mean, and I think like, it's like, how do you run a podcast? How do you run a true crime update? It's giving you free bonus content. That was a bonus episode. But like, how do you do that if you don't have, like, you have to go out on a limb and take a guess and they're like, well, who vets these people? Well, I mean, I don't, we do 4 shows a week. We're constantly in here. We all have full-time careers outside of podcasting. I think I'm probably the only one that podcasts on this network full-time. But everybody else has other full-time careers outside of this. And, it's not like we have all the time in the world to, unless we charged for the show or we booked 4 ad reads per episode, which
that would be cool.
I mean, the reason why we got into podcasting is so we don't have to do that.
Oh, we don't want that. Never mind.
Well, I mean, we do 2. We usually do 2. During the holidays, we'll do 4. But I mean, I don't really like to listen to a 1-hour show that every 5 minutes you have to do a commercial break. With that. And I think we're the only podcast that refuses to do ad reads, and we do the ads ourselves. We make our own ad reads,
right?
So that they're
not
entertaining
reading off of their script. Sure.
Right. We try to make them pertinent to the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
so all those people who gave us negative comments, go fuck yourself. I'm just kidding.
But what about Pedro? Because Pedro called me a dumb blonde, and that was fun.
Yeah, because I don't know that you did. I mean, I'm usually the dumb one here, and I think like everybody knows on the show, there was 2, and we're gonna get into this. I'm sorry, but we had 2 dispatchers come to the distillery last night to hang out. Awesome, and they're big fans of the show. They've listened to every single episode, it blew my mind. I did not. It still blows my mind that there are people out here who listen to every single episode, and that's just wild to me. But she was listening to all the episodes, and she's like, I think one of the funny parts about Failure to Stop is that you are pretty smart, but you're really fucking dumb. So, but that's me. I'm the dumb blonde, not you.
Wait, she said that to you?
She did. She said when you talk about police stuff, you're really smart, but then when you're not giving like a police perspective, you're so dumb, but it's hilarious. And that made me.
That sounds like he hits me because he loves me. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not sure how to take that.
I don't know either, but I do embrace. I've always said I'm a C student at best, but I was a fucking good cop.
Yeah.
I think I was a good cop. Mediocre at best. Cop.
I think for sure.
Oh, yeah. I got Officer of the Year once.
You got awards.
Got fired the same year, but
you did.
I did get awards. Many awards. I wear them actually. I wear them on Veterans Day. I wear my police medals. Thank you for my service.
As you should. All right, let's do this. Yeah. So like I said, we were going to talk Salem Witch Trials. It's not as fun. The Europeans, this is one of the times I can say the Europeans do it better. So they tortured a little better.
Do it better or worse?
Well, better in a worse kind of way. You know what I mean?
Nice, dude. Europeans, dude. It's like as much shit as people talk about the United States. I mean, you fuck around outside the United States. I mean, look at Brittany Griner, dude. Like 9 fucking years, not unlawfully detained, by the way. I like how Steph Curry came out on the basketball courts saying that we need justice for her. No, she broke the law in another country.
She knew what she was doing.
And they didn't have slavery in Russia that I know of, like we had here in the United States. So I don't think it's a racism issue. I think it's like you fuck around in Russia, you find out really quick. Like, you shouldn't have fucked around.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to go. I'm careful even. Whatever. You leave the confines of the United States. I'm going to be pretty careful to follow, abide by.
Yeah, locked up
whatever the
abroad.
rules are. Like, especially if I'm in Russia. Especially in Russia. I mean.
But yeah, I mean, the Russian, Europeans, though, they were like pretty heinous. I read this one story. I don't want to get it too wrong, but really quickly,
just get it a little wrong.
Just a little wrong. There was a slave ship leaving Europe, and it was supposed to be going I think to Ireland or something.
Okay.
But anyway, they got caught in a big storm or squall. Not squabble.
Yeah,
squall, right?
Storm, yeah.
And they were like, dude, we can't have this slave ship bouncing up against ours and the thing. So they just cut it loose with all the slaves still chained up on the boat. Just sailing. Like those dudes were probably eating each other, trying to gnaw each other's arms off to get out. They never found the boat or any of the people.
Oh, that's one that makes your stomach flip thinking about.
Dude,
You know what
that's
I mean?
sick. That's some twisted shit. So I mean, I mean, we're not the only ones guilty of heinous crimes. Doesn't make it right or wrong, but
No, but again, Europeans do it better. Like at least
Yeah.
in
Gnarly story.
in where this pertains. So we all know that the Salem Witch Trials were in 1692. If you didn't, you do now. But in 1603, we'll talk a little bit. Scotland in particular is where we're going to be talking about, and you're going to see me read from some notes. Two things on that. I didn't know we were going to be live, so there's that. And this isn't like a current or even past like murder trial in that sense, to where I've memorized the case and I'm reading it, or I know a timeline. This is just little facts about witches. So the kingdoms of Scotland and England were united in 1603. So that's when, excuse me, King James VI of Scotland, same guy, becomes King James I of England. So now we've got these kingdoms united. So he was an interesting dude, and he was pretty obsessed with the occult, or the idea of witchcraft, and with accusing a lot of folks of witchcraft. So he wrote a book about witchcraft and demonic magic. So as he's doing all this, and this is kind of his take and his feel in the kingdom, it's starting to get whispers. It's starting to get people a little in a tizzy about this. So he's not the only one, right? He's kind of putting this on his people. Now they're getting a little hyper aware and a little sensitive to the idea of this, and are going to be a bit more accusatory as well.
He was like the OG true crime podcaster, really.
Well, or the OG PI, because he kind of took some liberties, I think.
Okay. I'm interested.
So enter Matthew Hopkins. He was a not super successful lawyer. I think maybe he had a midlife crisis and wanted a change of career. So he became the Witch Finder General, which, if that job is on LinkedIn right now, somebody please send me the link. I would like to be Witch Finder General.
I'd like to be a bitch finder. Found one! Yay. Oh, I'm so glad I can't be smacked.
I'm so glad that we don't have like a sound, like sound effects.
That would be cool. It'd be like, so he's a witch finder.
Witch Finder General. So an unsuccessful lawyer. He was strongly puritanical, which isn't, I mean, a lot of folks were then. But his mission, he made it his mission in life to destroy anything associated with the occult or with witchcraft. Can you hear me okay, y'all? I feel like this is kind of weird.
I hear you fine, loud and clear.
Loud and clear. He assumed the title of Witch Finder General in 1645. So again, it was 1603 when King James kind of became master of all Scotland and England. So now we're at 1645. So he traveled with a group. You ready? He traveled with a group of people called, it changed later, but it started called Lady Prickers.
Nice.
I'm just going to give you a moment. I feel like you need a moment.
Nope. I'm good. That's awesome.
They traveled Eastern England, examining women for witchcraft. They later are called witch prickers instead of lady prickers. But the way they were actually paid is that local taxes from these villages started to get funneled into them for their services. So now people are in a tizzy, and they're starting to assume that most people are witches, and they want these people found and tried and killed so that they don't have to, worry about it. They had a strong fear of the occult. So, but think about that. Whenever money is tied to something, results might be erroneous, right? So they're starting to get paid way more than any local farmers would be. We're going to talk about money here in a moment. But that's kind of their thing. So they're traveling the eastern coastline and getting paid through village taxpayer money. So some of the methods of torture, and we're going to talk some specific people and things that happened to them. And then at the end, we're just going to kind of go over a list of different torture methods, which obviously is the fun part. But some of the methods would be keeping the women awake. I say women, about 75% of those accused were women, except for in Russia. In Russia, it was more men that were used for whatever reason. But in Europe, generally, it was women. So one of the methods of torture was to keep the women awake for many, many, many hours. And then what would happen is, we all know with sleep deprivation, we get groggy, we get delirious, and people would find themselves admitting to things they didn't do. So a lot of times they would admit to, the sorcery, even if they were completely innocent. And that's what would happen. And then they would kill them and move right along. So another thing they would do is use, they had these certain needles that are kind of long. They almost look like a crochet hook or something, but with a point at the end. It doesn't have the hook, but like they were long like that with like a handle, and they would either scratch or prick the women with those. And if they were found to not bleed, then they were considered witches. Well, of course, if you're pricked over and over, you're going to bleed. So they would actually they started adapting retractable blades with the knives they would use, or they would use like a really blunt tipped pin to prick the women with so they wouldn't bleed. So then what? They get paid because now they've found a witch.
Damn.
Right?
It really does sound a lot like the COVID vaccine. It's like, yep, he tested positive. Yep, he tested positive, and she didn't. But we went to a thing. You and I did.
Yep, I was gonna not say it. Yeah,
and you and I were with a group, and they didn't want certain people at a certain party, and so they listed off a list of names of people they wanted to be tested positive, so they couldn't come. And it worked. I heard like 8 or 9 names. They're like, nope, positive. Nope, positive. So
which on
like
a side
those
note,
people
I'll say
think
was
they were
genius.
positive. Huh?
That's on a side note. I'll say that was kind of genius.
Well, yes, but only the fact that those people think that they now have COVID.
This is true.
And they now tell people that they
Miss
tested
work
positive.
or
I don't know. Like, it's crazy that like people can elitists can pick and choose who they want to come to a party and don't want to have to come to a party. Whether they're okay. COVID or not. Well, I mean, you and I aren't elite enough to make those kind of decisions. Like, we don't have like a COVID tester.
You have COVID.
Just call and say,
I just did it.
That motherfucker's positive.
I just did it.
That's crazy.
So yeah,
because you wonder if they do that at like the White House with like journalists and stuff.
Are you kidding?
They're like, oh, this journalist is coming in now. You tell him he's tested positive, he can't come in.
Well, you know how that goes. If it happens at all, it's going to happen anywhere. You know what I mean? So it happened. Yeah, we saw it happen. It's going to happen anywhere, especially on higher platforms.
Right. Sketchy.
So back to our favorite witch finder general, Matthew Hopkins. His favorite method of torture was the swimming test or the swimming trial. I know a lot of us, have heard about this. So this is where the women's legs and arms were bound to a chair. Okay. The chair was thrown into the village pond, and 2 things. So either you sink and drown and die. Well, that just means that you were not a witch and God will have let you into heaven. Or you float and now you're a witch. So you are accused and tried as a witch.
How many people fucking floated?
Pick your poison. I can't imagine
any.
Unless the chair was made of what? Bamboo?
Balsa wood.
All that Scottish bamboo.
Scottish balsa wood.
Scottish. I can't do that.
There's a bunch of shrimp down here. How about another shrimp on the bow bee?
Okay, well, that's not Scottish either. Well, that's as Scottish as bamboo is.
We're all Scottish on Cinco de Mayo.
We're all Scottish on the inside.
Speaking of which, it is the 5th of November today. Sorry, side note. November.
Wait.
The 5th of November.
That's not your birthday. You made me like feel bad that I forgot something for a minute.
V for Vendetta. How dare you?
I'm here. I'm here. I'm back with you.
So, Master General, Witch Master General,
yes.
Witch Finder General. Yes. Sounds like a dating app, by the way.
It should be.
I found her on Witch Finder.
I've been on those. I think that's what it should be called. Not that I was looking for witches.
You die and go to heaven. Like, at some point, do you think these village people kind of like catch on? Like this is all baloney?
No, because I think what we realize is that there's just mass hysteria. I mean, like it becomes a mob mentality, like quite literally mobs of people. And that's what I was actually going to touch on in a little while. But it started with Matthew and his troop of lady prickers or whatever, kind of traveling around and making money doing this. But then the village is getting involved and they're saying, you know, I think it's her, or check her out.
Mhm.
Oftentimes the accused would be like the wives of some of the farmers that were usually on like a lower socioeconomic scale, and generally speaking they would be women who were a bit more vocal and would speak out about things. So
Oh.
basically, like, they don't like this Karen at the town meeting and now she's accused of witchcraft.
If I was a witch finder general, I would do it all based on titties. I'd be like, let me see your tits. Yep, that's a witch. Nope, that's not a witch. I would do it all based on like feel, cup size. I'd have like a whole thing, but I would be able to tell if they were witches by their breasts. And I would just go town to town, looking at different breasts, feeling them, touching them, motorboating them to really see if they're witches. And that's how I would determine if they were a witch or not drowning them in the pond. If I was the witch master.
Do you need a minute?
No, but I think it would be pretty cool.
So between 1644 and 1646, Hopkins and his team killed at least 300 women. So in that 2-year span, they really did a lot of work. So we talked about price a little bit ago, or their price, their wages. It says that around that time, in comparison, the average farm worker was receiving around 6 per day, and the Hopkins crew collected approximately 100 euros for their work. So that's going to be a bit of incentive to dull the blades on those needles and
Damn.
And accuse someone, right? So his own death, this is where it gets fun, is a little bit unclear with different sources, but most accounts say that he actually drowned undergoing his own swimming trial after he was accused of witchcraft.
Nice.
Isn't
dude.
that fun? I know, it made me smile.
Nice.
I like that a lot. So the last execution for witchcraft in England was in 1684. That's kind of when theirs kind of wrapped it up. And isn't that funny too? Like, what changed? Like, what gears changed that like switched this mass hysteria, this mob mentality of, you know, getting rid of the witches, to all of a sudden people are like, and we're not going to kill you for that anymore. Is it because we're not going to kill you for it, or now we no longer believe?
That in the I think we've seen that in the 2020s. Like where
mm-hmm.
just mass hysteria, and then all of a sudden it just goes away. Nobody gives a fuck about it anymore. It's like that. It's like
not
that.
Ukraine though.
Well, I was talking about COVID.
I know. And then Ukraine.
Oh yeah, then Ukraine. Yeah. Mass hysteria. Then like, are they even still fighting over there?
Well, do we know? Because we don't talk about it. We got.
I don't know because people took the blue and yellow flag off of their profiles on Facebook. I don't know.
Oh, so it stopped.
Anymore. I guess.
Well, they put them up. They put them up. So then the war stopped because we supported them, right?
I don't know. I don't know. I haven't seen anything on the interwebs about Ukraine. TikTok, they have a couple war videos on there. Pretty cool to watch.
Have you been? I've been seeing a lot of I think Deadleg, a couple other people keep putting it up about all the ads for like the Ukrainian single services, like Ukrainian. I am the Ukrainian woman, and I am here for your, you know, whatever. Like, come by me. And so everybody keeps saying, you know, like, glad to see that was not affected in the war. We still have our single or match searches.
Yeah, we still have our mail order brides.
Still have our sex trade.
Is anybody buying Russian brides anymore? Are we past that? Are we boycotting Russian brides now? The mail order Russian brides?
I mean, maybe they're at a discount.
Give them a discount. Yeah. All Russian mail order brides now 20% off in support of Ukraine. Use promo code Putin.
Ruski. That's
Oh,
Vidania. Okay. All right.
gosh.
Oh, Lordy. So the last execution for witchcraft in England, like I said, was in 1684, but the killings went on a bit longer elsewhere. So we're going to go to the Pitt and Wayne. I don't even know. It's supposed to be Scottish witch trials. Is that what you call it? A Pitt and Wayne?
A pit and ween? What the fuck is a pit and ween?
I don't know. I've had too much coffee. Okay. In 1705, this is interesting because the Pitt and Wayne witch trials all happened on account of a 16-year-old boy's accusations. So he essentially caused mayhem in this town, Pitt and Wayne, and they listened to him. Like we all know, let's not listen to the 16-year-old boy and anything he has to say. But
well, back then, like a 16-year-old boy was like a 30-year-old.
Yeah, I was gonna say a 45-year-old man. So this boy, Patrick is his name, Patrick Morgan. He told some stories. This resulted in 3 people murdered and many others tortured. He was the son of a blacksmith. He made allegations of witchcraft against some of his neighbors that were there in Scotland. So one lady was Beatrice Lang. Patrick said that she, quote, sent evil thoughts to torture him. And it makes me wonder if she was really good looking. Because, like, why is he tortured by her? You know what I mean? In his head. He's 16.
Yeah.
No one questioned this at all. Beatrice was incarcerated. She was thrown alone in a pitch black dungeon. Cue my unfounded fear of ever being imprisoned for anything. But she spent 5 months in this dungeon, and they would repeatedly, escort her out for torture and throw her back in the pit. After 5 months, she was actually released, but she died soon after, quote, alone and friendless. Because I don't know the rate on which people would be accused and tortured and imprisoned and then released. I don't, that's a hard one to find out there. Also, I didn't look, but I would assume you're not coming out to your buddies having a welcome home party. I would, you're going to be outcast and shunned. So anyway, she got out of there. She survived until she didn't, because she got out and died soon after. Thomas Brown was another man accused by Patrick, and all we really know about him is he starved to death in a dungeon. I'm not sure why Patrick.
What kind of clout does this 16-year-old have?
Everything he said, is not questioned one bit.
You know what he reminds me of? Is like the old version of modern day. What's the global warming chick?
Oh, Greta. Yeah. Ugh. She needs sunlight.
Greta Thunberg. Yeah. How dare you? Like, so many people listen to this dumb bitch. She's like 14.
Ugh. She's
How dare you?
Ugh.
How dare you?
I was trying to read the chats, but again, I know we're not supposed to do that because people are also listening. However, I'm not wearing I have an appointment next week at the eye doctor, and I will get my contacts finally, but I'm not wearing my glasses today. And I was told by one sweet soul that when I squint at the chats, I look like an old man reading. So yeah. I am not going to.
She's also not wearing her bra. Again, for all those who have never tuned into our YouTube, that's what you're missing right now is a grandmother squinting at a computer without a bra on. And you could be seeing that right now for the lovely price of free $99 if you just head over to our YouTube and smash the subscribe button, and make sure you hammer the like button anytime that you see Andrea squint. Let it be a reminder that you should hammer the like button while watching any video of the braless, contactless Andrea Uplate. And that is your Fail or Stop shameless plug of the day. She's wearing a bra. Spoiler alert.
Quit talking about it at all.
While you're laying down all lonely, while you're laying down lonely in your ghost bed and you have nothing to do, head over to Failure to Stop YouTube channel. But right now, Failure to Stop podcast channel. Oh, nope, that is not an ad read. That was a contract I was just reading, to be honest with you.
Is Ashley still there?
She's not. I don't have the ad read pulled up, but I can do it by heart. Because right now, GhostBed, the reason why I can do it by heart is because we love GhostBed so much, because they are our founding sponsor. They are our first. They signed the longest contract. They were like, this show is going to go on air every day for 4 days a week because of us. And anything else is just a little extra bonus. So whenever you talk about Ammo Seek or Blue Chew or Manscaped or any of those other things that all have the same promo code as Wolfpack, we are the sponsor that will keep the show alive forever. And that's GhostBed. And they are loyal and we love them. And they are huge fans of first responders and of law enforcement and military. Law enforcement and first responders? Interesting. But right now they are offering 35% off. If you go to ghostbed.com/Wolfpack, get 35% off on everything. Almost everything. You can bundle it if you want. They've got the GhostBed mattress, the GhostBed pillows. Everything's got that cooling technology so that you can stay hard while watching Night Shift and staying cool on that cooling technology. So if you get hot, like we do right here in North Carolina, you're going to always be cool with GhostBeds. You can bundle it. You can get the base. You can get the mattress. You can get pillows and toppers. If you want it all, bundle it together. It's super easy. Head over to ghostbed.com/Wolfpack. 0% down, 0% financing. And that's if you have Witchfinder Master Commander credit.
Yes.
You can still afford a GhostBed. So head over to ghostbed.com/Wolfpack and get your GhostBed today.
Where's
Sleep
it?
so good, it's scary.
Yeah.
Back to you.
Yes, I know. I'm just
Witchfinder.
ready for a new podcast partner. We just talked about the second victim that was killed in regards to Patrick Morgan's accusations. The third person that ultimately died from Patrick's flapping his jaw was accused by Patrick, named Janet Corfat. She was actually able to escape her torturers. She went home, only to be grabbed again by the mob. So that's why I talk about the mob. I mean, just think of like pitchforks and Dracula or whatever. Like they're all coming. So they came to get her, got her again. She was actually beaten really badly. She was drugged by her heels to the seafront. They then enacted all sorts of different torture. So they swung her by a rope, they stoned her, they beat her severely, and they ultimately crushed her to death in what is called a pressing. This is where they laid her body on the ground. She was not the only one that died at the hands of this. Your body would be laid on the ground or on a hard surface. And then they would generally lay like a door, kind of a heavy wooden door on top of you. And then bit by bit would slowly add boulders and stones on top of that until ultimately you were crushed to death. So once she died from that, to make entirely sure that she was no longer alive, she was then laid out, and a man drove over her body with his horse and wagon multiple times just to be sure. She was denied a Christian burial, and her body was thrown in a communal grave known as Witch's Corner. Sounds like a cool
Can
bar.
you still visit Witch's Corner?
Yeah.
I wonder if there's a gift shop.
Well, okay, I should say this. I don't know about that particular one, but there are definitely, you can go visit a lot of these,
Dude,
like
we
mass
should
graves.
do like one of these Failure to Stop vacays that we do.
Okay.
We should go to Witch's Corner and I don't know, visit the gift shop.
Is all of our sponsorship paying for us to go to Scotland at this point?
I mean, we're booked out through Christmas, so
Let's do it.
as long as we don't fuck up and say something we shouldn't.
Yeah, no chance of that.
As long as one of our co-hosts doesn't feel like she's been sexually harassed live on air about not wearing a bra and sues us for $5s of dollars, I think we might have enough money to go to Scotland. Could work.
All of the others accused Patrick. All the ones that accused Patrick were, or that Patrick accused, excuse me, were finally freed. He was eventually exposed as a liar. But guess what? Nothing happened. Like, he was never punished for it whatsoever.
Dude, this sounds like 2020.
Yeah. I mean, the whole town knew that he made all this up. People died at his hands. Nothing.
Yeah. I feel like history has just repeated itself. Like, I think we've just lived through all of that.
Yeah, I would agree.
You're a nurse. You can't agree.
I can.
Okay. I like it. I like that bold stance.
I usually just don't speak on it.
I am the bitch finder.
You. So some of the torture methods used in Scotland, we know that around 4,000 to 6,000 Scots were tried for witchcraft between the 15th and 18th century. So about in that 300-year span.
Oh, that's not
still, that's a lot, up to 6,000.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I was thinking if that was like 6,000 in the span of like 10 years, that would be like 3/4 of the population back then.
Ooh, I just got dizzy.
I have that effect on women.
About 3/4 of them were women. This led to the execution of about 1,500 people. Most were strangled or burned, but that's not fun. So let's talk about the other ways. The Scold's bridle is one of the things used. So if you picture, I took a picture to show you guys. So essentially it's an iron like helmet, but it's not solid. A lot of times it was just like pieces of iron that would go over the head. I mean, think of a bridle on a horse. Picture that, but conform to like a human, round like a human skull. This is one of the earlier known ones. They start looking different. They do start looking much more like a horse's bridle, but look how terrifying this one is. Hang on. Let me make sure it's just that picture. Okay.
Oh my God.
Right?
That looks like something in my wife's closet. Hey, honey, put on the bridle.
So it was used in Aberdeen's jail. So
what does it do?
Well, let me just tell you. But wait, there's more. So it was placed over the head with a padlock, and then something in that picture you can see there was like something that would go in the mouth, and that prevents the tongue from wagging. Is how it was.
The tongue from wagging.
Yeah, because it was because these women I told you earlier, a lot of the ones accused of witchcraft were women who were outspoken they were, like I said, a lower socioeconomic status, and they were often the outspeakers. Like they would speak out against with their grievances and whatever, and so they'd flap those jaws and get the bridle.
But how does a tongue wag? Like,
that's a phrase.
move?
It's just a figure of speech. Like wagging your tongue is talking.
Oh, so it just prevents you from talking. It's not like.
Yeah, but do you look at it? I feel like it's gonna affect more than just you're not talking. Like it was made of iron as well.
Yeah, so it's probably heavy.
Well, yeah, and can you think in your mouth? I'm sure it wasn't just like don't talk. I mean, this thing stayed in the mouth as this thing is padlocked on your head. So I would imagine just anything you do is not.
Would you have been? Do you think you've been accused back then?
100%, like across the board.
I felt that too. I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to be mean. I don't want to be rude, but that's what I was thinking. No offense.
No, I mean, like between speaking out, I'm left-handed. I think that was like a thing.
Oh, you're double fucked.
Done. I was done. Yeah.
Dang, girl.
What would I have wanted if I could pick my torture?
I feel like you'd be into like whips, getting whipped.
Not the bridle. I don't like that. I don't like that constraint.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I'd almost rather, I don't know. I don't like that either. Okay. So schoolmaster John Flann was burned to death, but he was burned to death after his fingernails were all removed. And I can't stand that in any torture scene ever when it has to do with fingernails or teeth, removal of teeth with pliers or fingernails. I can't.
My gosh. Oh, poor witches, man.
So the accused were often pricked over and over. We just talked about that a bit ago with needles. There was a belief that the association. So that's another thing too. Like they just say all these things, but I wanted to know why. Like, okay, why do you think that they're not going to bleed, or why does bleeding or not bleeding lead to them being witches or not being witches? You know, how is that?
Yeah, like why can you sit down in a restaurant without a mask, but you can't walk to the bathroom without
through
a mask?
it?
You know what I'm saying? Like, I think it's all the
Same.
same shit. Like, I think it's all just fucking like.
Well,
Well,
so they say-
what they do. This is scientifically proven, but what they do is they take a dartboard and they draw things on it. They write like little notes, and you throw your dart with a blindfold on, and wherever the dart lands, that's the rule. So it's like bleeding. Oh yeah, we hit bleeding. That's one of them. Drowning. That's another one. They just make shit up, dude. They just make it up.
It's fun. It's a fun way to live.
Yeah.
But there was a belief that their association with the devil.
With the what?
With the devil. With the devil. Made them immune to pain as well.
Uh-oh.
So like these things that they would do, they didn't think that the witches could feel it.
I feel like their screaming in agony would kind of disprove that, but maybe I'm
They were faking
it, huh? Oof.
Faking. So sleep deprivation, we talked about. Traditionally, they were without sleep for about 40 hours. They would then become delirious enough to admit to anything. How long have you gone without sleep?
A while. I mean, I've been through sleep deprivation training.
Right.
And it was part of a course actually that I had to redo, and that sucked. And then the course that I went to before that, they did a sleep deprivation practice. And it's like, you're not even supposed to go through like sleep deprivation, but more than like once or twice in your life. Like I ended up doing it like three times in a row, and or like 3 times in the course of, I don't know, 18 months or something. I don't know. But it sucks, man. It's like, I don't know. It's you get less and less sleep until you go like 48 hours with no sleep. So definitely like hallucinating.
Yeah.
Like definitely some hallucinations. Anything will make you cry, and everything makes you hurt. So there's like one story where I was walking, there was a guy behind me, and I didn't hold like a branch so that it didn't hit him. Like it like rubbed up against my shoulder, and it sprang back and slapped him. And he lost it. He lost all composure. It was like in the middle of a patrol. He ended up getting like kicked out because of noise discipline. But the dude like lost his fucking mind. He was like, "You fucking broke my nose. What the fuck is wrong with you?" And there was like nothing. There was like not even a red mark. But like it was the sleep deprivation just snapped him. Like just made him fucking go crazy. And I mean, good guy, good dude. But yeah, sleep deprivation is a real deal. And then when you sleep for 5 minutes, you think you've slept for like 2 days.
Ugh.
That's what's crazy. It's like you wait, they'll like let you go to sleep for like 5 minutes, and they wake you up, and you think you've been asleep for days. You're like, whoa, dude, it's crazy. Where have I been?
Yeah, I couldn't do that.
But you're still like in this weird emotional, like
you're sick. Your body is sick. Yeah, because you're not
a lot of
meant to.
crying.
Yeah,
like just super hyper emotional. And I hate sleep deprivation, and I've done it fucking 3 times. It's awful.
Yeah, I've never been through true. I guess labor with my oldest. It was like 30 hours. That was probably the longest, I guess. But I without sleep, but I can't imagine like training to get to a point where then that's your like the final exam is the sleep deprivation, but you've been training for it by getting less and less over time, right?
Yeah. It's brutal. They usually do it like right at the beginning of the course. So it's like the first thing that happens. It's like,
yeah, so you're messed up.
And you kind of realize it's happening because it's like the first day, like you're doing all this crazy shit. And then, you're not going to bed till like 3 a.m. and then you're up at like 8. And then the next day you're doing the same thing. You like go to bed at like 3 a.m. and they have you up at like 6. And then the next day you just don't go to sleep. And then the next day you don't go to sleep. And then before you know, you're like, oh my God, like I'm delusional.
It's been
fucking,
yeah.
I don't know where I'm at, and everything is hard. Like you're like trying to pack your rucksack, and you're like just holding a pair of socks, and you're just holding it over the bag because you forget. You're like, what am I even doing? Oh, I need to put this in the bag. Like, what am I doing? It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy shit happens.
But so then it stands to reason, right? It makes sense that women would then admit to things they didn't do, so they did actually start changing that, like the law on the sleep deprivation started getting to be less. They over time lessened the 40 hours. The medical doc turned biblical counselor says he wasn't diagnosed anything until you start getting okay, you read it. I don't have my contacts in.
This medical doctor turned biblical counselor says he won't diagnose anything until you start getting 8 hours of sleep, 2 2 weeks because of how many problems sleep deprivation causes. I absolutely agree with that, which is why we went after ghost beds so hard from the beginning, because Mike has a ghost bed. Everybody has a ghost bed. They were sponsors with us when we were attached to the previous network. But sleep is so important for first responders, and ghost bed gives you such really good sleep. Like, it's so perfect that we really, I can't express enough how important sleep is. And I think there's a lot of problems. Sleep and diet can change
your whole
so
life.
much shit.
It is your whole life. Yeah. So anyway,
which is why I'm drinking Diet Coke on 3 hours of sleep.
Cheers.
Look at me. Look how I turned out.
Cheers.
For those of you who are watching, that's where you take a snapper picture. Little snapshot.
Snapshot. All right. So we talked about the water test. This is a funny reason behind it too. We just talked about the, if you bleed or don't bleed, and if that's your association with or not with demons. The water test, the reason behind that was the water. They believed the water, or King James did, to be so pure that it would repel the guilty. So if you float, that's why they think you would float. So if you floated, they think you're a witch, because the water was pure and it's literally pushing you out. It's repelling you.
Yeah.
You done.
Yeah.
Or you get lucky, or don't get lucky, or they know that you're not a witch and you just drown. So the next couple we're going to talk about, I actually just took pictures of a couple of these things to read to you guys, but we have
that was diabolical.
it was the witch's mark. And so let's see here.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier that it's like 6,000 people were accused, but only 1,500 of them
I
were
know, I
executed.
noticed that as well.
So you had a chance to prove them wrong.
Yeah, I mean, it was more than we realized. Here we go. Let's see here. Another common sign of guilt was the devil's or the witch's mark. Witch hunters believed that sorcerers would receive such a mark upon completing their pact with Satan. Although it could change color, shape, potentially even location, the mark itself would be insensitive to pain. Again, remember, if you have a pact with the devil, you don't feel pain. So some demonologists confused this mark with the witch's teat, which was an extra nipple on the accused body that was supposedly used to suckle demonic assistants or imps.
Yes. Do you have a third nipple?
No.
Damn.
Not a witch. I'm not even happy that I answered that.
Not a witch.
So this was a new concept. So the torturers crafted or purchased needles specifically designed for seeking them out. So they would seek out, I think of like a metal detector.
Like what if you had like a zit? Like what if you had like a zit on your ass? And they're like,
that's gonna suckle the demonic assistant.
Like, it's a witch. She's got a pimple on her ass. That is a tit if I've ever seen one. They were in the pond.
So during the witch craze, England and Scotland even supported professional witch prickers. We talked about that earlier. Though such men likely used old needles to falsify their results, like we also spoke on earlier. We talked about pressing and the how they would literally just do that. So listen to this. Here's where America does it better, though. So we're going to switch back over to Salem.
All right.
And so we talked about pressing, guys, remember, with the door on top of you and multiple boulders until you're crushed. So then we have one of the most famous cases in Salem during these trials relied upon pressing. It was an 80-year-old man named Giles Corey. He was famously accused of being a warlock alongside his wife, Martha, but he refused to enter a guilty plea. He denied it consistently. So he was subjected to pressing. So over 2 days, that's another thing too. This isn't like a quick thing. Over 2 days, increasingly heavier stones were placed upon his body in hopes of forcing the confession. So they're not just doing it to kill. It's a torture method. So it's taken time. According to most accounts, Giles repeatedly hollered, "More weight,
Yeah.
more weight because he was like, I'm not guilty. More weight. Keep it coming. Keep it
Yeah,
coming.
bitch.
And then he died.
And you want to die faster, quicker.
Yeah, that's also he was smart. But yeah, it took him 2 days, but he yelled more weight. So that's where America does it better. We have let's see here. Oh, there's
yeah,
one here in
America.
Italy. Ooh, I feel like Italy probably got a little sideways here too. In Tuscany, there's an 800-year-old grave site. So maybe we could take that on our failure to stop field
Yeah,
trip.
we could hit some Tuscan wineries.
Yeah, no doubt.
Head over to
we're-
Sassicaia.
We're here for the show. So this is a graveyard entirely for witches, or it's believed to be anyway. So after they found these bodies, and they found they would be playing die. So they're talking about just like gambling, I would assume is what they're talking about. It was illegal at the time. They were thrown into shallow graves, but they've uncovered at least the remains of 2 women who had been buried with 13 nails driven into their jaw. It says it's unknown exactly why. However, experts suspect it was a way to prevent the corpse from uttering curses should she ever come back from the dead.
Oh, but I mean, like, they didn't put those nails in her when she was alive.
I don't know that we know that.
I guess we
Maybe.
don't know that. I guess we
Maybe.
don't know that.
I'm picturing
Man.
them alive because, there was one also, and we can wrap this up, but there was one about like suspected vampires and stuff. So there's an odd grave that they found in Venice from the 16th century. It was just discovered in 2006, and it has a body that was buried alongside plague victims. It was strange because there was a brick that was forced into her mouth, a common practice at the time that were used on bodies of suspected vampires as a way of halting the spread of supernatural disease. So basically like a bite block. They also thought she was a witch is what they found out. It says that her age is part of what leads scientists to believe she may have been accused of witchcraft since women of the time who lived past 40 were thought to be witches. I've got a few years.
Yeah, right. They'd be like, this one's living forever, folks. She's outlived everybody in the village by like 20
She's
years.
immortal.
She's immortal. She's so old.
Anyway, yeah. But yeah, that's some fun stuff for you this Saturday morning.
I love that stuff on night shift, man. I love me some murder, some mayhem.
Yeah. On a side note, this shirt is not particularly orange, but picture that it is because Tennessee's playing Georgia today.
Oh, okay.
Go Big O.
Sports. Yay, sports.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's real cool.
Get it.
Packing up. I'm putting my orange shit on because I'm going to Cincinnati, and they have a team that wears orange there. So
that's professional though. So,
well, what's the difference?
So you're going to be there with Drew and I am Pitts.
Yeah. We're gonna stop in
Virginia, right?
Charleston, West Virginia. We're gonna stop there tomorrow, and we're gonna skateboard at a skate park in Charleston. And then on Monday, we will get into Cincinnati at some point. I have a podcast that evening with somebody, with the One More and I'm Out of Here guys.
Right.
And then Drew Breezy gets in at like 7:15, and I guess we'll probably go to some bar for some brewskis. I think we're meeting up with some Cincinnati PD boys on Monday night somewhere. I don't know. I don't really know. Might be firefighters. I don't know. I don't know the whole plan. I'm just gonna show up and cleaned out the minivan, taking the cheer-ins with me. They got us a really nice Airbnb though.
Oh, nice.
So I'm really pumped about that. It looks really nice. So pretty stoked. I think it'll be a fun trip.
Well, good. Let's, before we wrap it up fully, I just want to touch on the Delphi case a little bit. We know that that on, what is this day? Saturday. Sorry, y'all, we're pre-recording. It's Tuesday. That about a week ago, Richard Allen was charged with the murders of Abby and Libby and the Delphi murders from 2017. We did have the show following up with the PI. I'm just going to call him that instead of whatever that title is. But and you can go back and watch that if you want, and just kind of sift through it, take from it what you will. It is interesting. But just remember that we've talked about this from the get-go, and so have a lot of other people. We're not alone in this, that there is a likelihood that there was more than one accomplice in this. And it's real easy when you have a visual of the guy on the bridge to think that's just the only one. And I'll be, perfectly honest in saying that for a while I thought it was only one as well, because like we've talked about, when you have more than one, you've just got more people, right? More people for things to go sideways, more people to run their mouths, more, just much more leeway for a mistake to happen and them not be caught. And they've not been caught. Not only had they not been, not even close to being caught, right?
Mm-hmm.
However, nothing to a solo individual at this point. And I think that what really screams that, if you take nothing else into account, if you didn't listen to the show with the PI, if you know no other details other than during that press conference, the sheriff has said since day one, from 5 years ago, that if in the event that once they do catch and arrest the person responsible for these murders, he said that he would say, "We've done it. It's over. We have him." They've not said that. Instead, he said, "Let me be very clear. Today is about Abby and Libby. Let's focus on them." They really did. They took questions, but they never answered anything. And furthermore, they reiterated that it's an open investigation and that all tips are encouraged. So nothing points to them feeling, or to it sounding like they're done, that they've completed this task.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think that I don't know. Just
I can't think of
alone makes me feel like there's more than one person. Like, now I think that this guy that they got is definitely implicated. I think that he absolutely was a part of this, but I don't think he was the only one.
Yeah, I've never thought that there was just one. In my brain I've always said, like,
yeah, and I think their verbiage would be different. I mean, they would say this wouldn't be, and they said it so many times, how this investigation is still open. We are answering 0 questions because we are still very actively.
Yeah, because if they had a sealed deal press conference, the attitude would be a lot different.
Yeah, they didn't come to it with this air of cheer and celebration, like this is done. We've done it. It's over. That's not at all how their demeanor,
No, I agree with you. I think there's more to the case, and part of me hopes that Ron Logan was involved somehow. No, I'm just kidding. I don't hope anything.
That he was or was not.
Was just because because of the cockiness and the people of the comments on that poor private investigator, which at the end of the day, that's this guy's job. I mean, his job is to come up with theories and things like that. And scientists fuck, dude, like Fauci and their theories, man, like they wouldn't listen to anybody else's perspective on their theory, and their theory was completely wrong. And we're all learning that now. Everybody. So it's like all these people
knew it before.
just go all in that I'm right and I'm wrong. You got to remember, at the end of the day, these are all theories and we don't have all the answers. So there's no reason to get mad at anybody for what their theory is. You're allowed to, I don't know where we've developed this. You're not allowed to have a theory different than mine mentality, but it needs to stop, because that's not how we progress.
No, and I agree with that. But also, unfortunately, and we talked about it on the show, if you haven't kept current with that case, the man whose property butts up to where the girls were found, the murdered girls were found, was the one who initially his property was searched and seized. They held him on unrelated, just some like traffic violation, just to kind of get his foot in the door of the jail while they searched his property and did some things. He was released. He did lie about his alibi, but they felt like they understood why he did that. There were a lot of things. They did release him. They let him go. They didn't seem to feel like he was implicated here. Now, moving on, he died a year or so ago. So unfortunately, if he's a part of this, I hope that they are able to find that out. I just wish he was still alive to be charged, if in fact that's, who they are saying was the accomplice.
I think we're getting closer though in this case. And there's some stuff popping off of the Dylan Rounds. I think we need to do a Dylan Rounds update special.
Yep, we can do that.
in the next week or so.
And then the Murdaughs, the case of the Murdaughs was. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
Didn't Alex Murdaugh? Is he going on like some kind of TV show or something?
They were on Dateline last night. Actually, Drew texted me about that.
Yeah.
But I was reading about witches. But yeah, so
I guess we probably need to do a couple more true crime updates in the next week or two.
So yeah, I'll do a few reels about that, and then one of these days. Hey, on a side note, you know what I want to do one day?
I don't want to know.
No, I want to do. Can we do like a mean tweets?
Yeah.
Can we read all the things people have said?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be fun?
That would be fun.
Like a mean tweet Tuesday.
But let's start off with saying, go leave a review right now on iTunes or Spotify. If you've
Please
made it
do.
this far in the show, please go give us a review. We haven't asked for reviews in a long time, but that is a great way to support this show, is just to give us a 5-star rating and a little written review on why you love us so much. But yeah,
Yes,
I do like the mean comments. I find myself reading the mean comments more than I read the nice
They're
ones.
just fun. It's funny.
They are fun because like I said before, I like the people's passion and like how convinced that they're right, that they are right. You know, like that they know us, that they have us pegged.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like they know how much money we make from doing a bonus episode with no sponsors.
Oh, so much. So all the money.
Like
all.
the fact that you would do this to get extra money. Where does that money come from when
money.
there's no sponsor? That's just free show time out of our day, which we've done a lot of shows for free, especially when we first started. But it's not about the money. It's about, we kind of have a commitment
It's about the love.
to bringing
Yeah.
true crime updates and police related videos and breaking things down for our fans, people who enjoy
Right.
our perspective. We like to make short videos. That's why Drew Breezy does these 15-minute videos. I do these 15-minute videos anytime somebody has a question. Why did this woman get arrested and left on the train tracks only to be struck by a train? Well, I'll deep dive that for you in 15 minutes. Or, why are things, the way they are? Drew Breezy will, and you do the same thing with true crime. So we just do it for our fans. It's not for, clout or money or anything like that. It'd be great. It'd be great if somebody wanted to pay us for that.
That would be a fun side effect.
It would be a great side effect, but
But no,
Well,
we do it because we love you guys. It's a
we do
lot of
it.
fun.
because we love you. And that's why I make fun of Andrea so much. It's because I love her. If I didn't love her, I wouldn't say the mean things that I say about her live on air. Like that I'm the bitch finder master and things like that. I always think it's funny
That'd be
when
fun
people are
merch, by the way.
like, bitch master or bitch finder.
Yeah.
Bitch finder master general.
Yeah.
I do like it though when people are like, wow, he's so mean to her. Doesn't she realize she's being abused by this man? Like, oh man. All the way from Wilmington.
Ever the feminist.
All the way in Wilmington, I'm abusing you.
Yeah. And heaven forbid, I'm not a big enough girl to say if I'm upset about something.
Oh God. She's definitely old
Abusing.
enough. She's definitely old enough.
Okay. So
well,
y'all
this
have
has
a
been
safe boys trip to Cincinnati.
Hey,
Don't get in
shoulda
too much
went with
trouble.
us. Should have went with us. That's what you get for having fucking kids.
I know. And a job.
Sucks to suck. You could be going with us. We could have been piling in the van with the boys.
I've done it. I think that picture of me on the floor of your van with your kids. Or maybe it's Ashley. One of us was on the floor.
Yeah. I have a picture of you on a long car ride.
Nope.
With some wax lips. Might post that later. Feeling froggy. I was going to actually say that one for your birthday. When is your birthday?
January.
Oh, okay. Well, you'll have to wait for January. That's my favorite picture of you, and I'm going to post it. You were so young back then.
I was. It's a couple years ago.
You were in your early 40s, 17 years ago. All right. Well, hey, if Tennessee wins, you're not a witch. If they lose,
I'll take those
say
odds.
goodbye.
This
say goodbye
season,
to
I'll
your
take those
fingernails.
odds. Okay.
Say goodbye to your fingernails.
Let's go. Let's do it.
All right, guys. Until next time, this has been another episode of Photostop Night Shift. We hope you enjoyed it. Until next time, giddy up.
Good night, y'all.